Hello, everyone. Today I would like to talk with you about one of the most, if not the most, controversial topics in our country to date, and that is gun control. Um, Gun control has been widely talked about, and there's been a lot of great arguments for and against the subject, and there's been a lot of arguments that have been widely overused and have now lost some of their validity due to the overuse. So, today I would like to present a few of my viewpoints on the subject. First, I'll explain how I interpret the constitutionality or the constitutional aspect of it. Second, I'll explain some of the legislation that I agree with and some of the self defense aspect of it. And finally, I will explain some of the more sentimental or cultural aspects of firearms in our country, and why any legislation that prohibits a law abiding citizen from enjoying the right to own weapons or firearms, guns, is constitutionally wrong and morally wrong. So, first of all, constitutionally, gun control laws are so far and proposed legislation, not just the laws themselves. Proposed legislation is only affecting law-abiding citizens, because that's all they can affect is the people who actually follow the law. The Second Amendment, which was added to the Constitution in 1791, reads, "A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." So the Second Amendment was fundamentally put into place because of the Civil War. So our founding fathers wanted to protect us from what they had gone through and from any other oppressing forces. And according to Abby Rogers, a writer from Business Insider, the very first gun law in the United States was passed in 1927 by Congress, and it was known as the Mailing of Firearms Act or the Miller Act. And in this act, the main point of it was that to ban the mailing of concealed firearms. So for almost 140 years in the United States, there was no gun legislation, and this goes to show me that the problem with our country and the crime rate and the homicide rate has to do with a fundamental issue of society. Our society is sick, and these people are abusing their right to own weapons and firearms by hurting other people with them. And our gun control laws have not worked. Most of them have not worked. And that kind of leads me into my second point of the gun control laws that are effective. So, the first one that I view as effective is where guns are and are not allowed. For example, according to Montana state and some federal laws, um, federal, state, and local buildings, schools, and businesses that primarily sell alcohol, and also banks, you're not allowed to have a firearm in them. And I believe that this is a very effective piece of legislation because there's no reason in these situations where you would have to use a firearm to protect yourself or in general. In general, the second piece of legislation that I find that is effective also has to deal with keeping guns in the hands of law-abiding citizens and out of the hands of criminals. So, according to Montana state law on purchase of firearms and concealed weapons permits, a person with a history of drug abuse, convictions, or an incomplete status in mandatory weapons training cannot buy guns or get a concealed weapons permit. So these background checks are very a very effective means of keeping guns in the hands of people who are capable of using them correctly and appropriately and not criminals. which would which helps lower the crime rate. Um, and then guns that are used for self-defense is one of the most effective means of self-defense. An example of this is from James D. Wright and Peter Rossi. They surveyed nearly 2,000 inmates at a prison, and these inmates were convicted of felonies of armed robbery and burglary, and they said that they found that the inmates 57%, excuse me, um, of the inmates said that they would rather um, encounter law enforcement over a victim, their victim, with a firearm. So they would rather deal with the law than with a person who has a firearm to defend themselves with. So this just goes to show that firearms are very effective, and gun control legislation that prohibits people from being able to defend themselves is wrong. It's morally wrong. My final point is a cultural point. So, guns have been around in the United States since before the United States were even united. According to IBIS.com, there are over 18,000 shooting ranges across the country, and these ranges have hundreds, if not thousands, of members. And the people who are involved in these places are typically very involved in them, and it becomes a part of their lifestyle. An attempt to control these people's guns greatly affects this culture and millions of people's lives. So overall, any attempts of legislation to control guns is both wrong constitutionally and morally, and any legislation that is based on limiting the rights of law-abiding citizens is unacceptable. Thank you.